Okay guys, thank you all for coming. I hope I will not be the reason why you stay here till tomorrow. So I'll try to make it quick, make it frank. In some cases maybe I will even skip slides if you see you're not interested. I want to just have a feeling of you guys here. Who of you are comfortable with terminology Agile and Waterfall? Who of you know for sure what it is? No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I can cut the crap, I can cut the theory and just get to business, get to telling my story. So here's the very quick plan. First, I will have to tell you the context of the whole project. Otherwise, well, my presentation doesn't make a lot of sense. You won't understand anything why we use this or that method. Then I will tell you about the business case and the project itself, and how it became something which cannot be managed by our usual techniques, our usual Agile techniques. And then I'll share some conclusions and some tips and tricks and life hacks I understood during the last half a year. This is the real thing, it's not finished yet. The deadline is in 2 months, so I'm a bit in attention. So who I am? I'm a product owner. On paper, well, right now I'm also a project manager, temporarily in Intexsys. And in Intexsys, we specialize in e-commerce. So I'm responsible for e-commerce platform development. I have 3 teams of IT guys, 16 people. One of the team is sitting in Odessa in Ukraine. 2 of them are here. As for education, I'm a business person, so if I get some technical details wrong, please excuse me. I'm a business person. So, let me tell you about the environment. Our clients are quite big here in Latvia, but we'll be talking about the American client. It's an e-commerce holding called Essentria. They operate 15 stores. The accumulated turnover would be roughly 400 million US dollars. So they're kind of big. They're not as big as Amazon, of course, but they're big and they're very successful in their niche. They outperform Amazon in search results, and they outperform eBay in search results in their niche, so they're really good. So what they have? They have more than 100 people who are IT practitioners. We have a fully integrated e-commerce platform, so it's not some box solution like OpenCart or Magento. It's something of our own, something we write, something we create. They have very interesting scaled processes, so everything is automated. Nobody's inputting products on these online stores manually. It's happening automatically. Nobody's creating descriptions. It happens automatically and stuff like that. So, between software development are those guys. I mean, the regular IT crowd. You know, if you want to make a picture of how it looks like that. The development is in-house, so all of the business representatives like marketing, like merchandising, like designers, even business owners, they can contribute to Jira. You just write a ticket to the common backlog, and me and my colleagues from platform development management will understand what to do with it. We will prioritize it. I mean, compose a normal user story and give it to one of the teams. So basically it works like that. And we're total Agile adepts. We have Scrum-Ban, our own mix of those 2 methodologies, so all of the roles, all of the rituals, all of the morning stand-ups and other stuff you read in manuals, everything is present, absolutely 100%. So we use milestones, not sprints. This is why it's a mix, not really Scrum, not really Kanban. We keep the story size normal. I mean, nobody's estimating, nobody's telling that this is going to take me 30 hours. No. It is normal that a story will take 5 days to complete, from very beginning till the very end. We try to slice stories that way and try to plan knowing that. And we use statistics-based planning. This helps. We gather a lot of statistics, a lot of them. But it is not the topic of discussion today. And all teams are cross-functional, meaning you can give almost any team any ticket. Well, if it's something like specific, like a database issue, it will be a data team, but all of the other teams can handle almost all of the stories. So in general, all of the project, all of the strategic initiatives, all of the work in progress, like, is depicted on one big roadmap. So everybody can see it. Any guy in the warehouse, company director, anybody can see it. Just access Confluence, open it, and see what's happening in general terms. On team level, we have usual Kanban boards where work in progress is displayed. So you know that. I will not be going into details how Kanban works. I mean, do I need that? Who needs that? Nobody needs that. That's great. So business, on the other hand, well, they are old school. These are guys that got their MBAs like on average 10 years ago. They live in the States and they want it old school. So they have an institute, a special organization, PMO, in the company, which has standards for managing projects. It has 10 commandments, what you should do, what you should not do, what you can do. They have a 47-page manual on how to actually start, how to initiate a project. They have some courses, they have everything, absolutely all the standards where everything is codified, everything is clear. This is how they work. So okay, now we got it. So 1 year ago, our clients, well, they made a very friendly acquisition of another company. The company was experiencing a growth crisis. It was a $30 million store. I mean, their annual sales were 30 million, right? And they were running, and they're still running, a box solution called Magento. And all of their business processes were driven by technological boundaries of Magento. Their warehouse at one point also became too populated. It was 90% occupied, 90%. And they realized that, you know, developing something from scratch is not the thing they want, especially in the market condition of today. I'm sure you don't know, but American e-commerce market is experiencing merger and acquisition wave. It is consolidating, so even big enterprises leave it. Also, a lot of business migrates to internet. Big retail chains get closed in US, and they move to online. I mean, online. I wouldn't be surprised if Amazoning something would become an official word in a year, like Googling did become a few years ago. So then we arrived and thought, okay, guys, let us buy you. Okay, we wanted to help them grow. It was a friendly acquisition. We bought 50 plus 1 share. So we wanted to share our processes. We wanted them to benefit from the economy of scale. We wanted to share our technology, basically migrate them to our platform and to our technology. This is what it is all about. Well, this project landed on my agenda. I sat down and drew a very simple plan of what you should do. Like, first you have to take over the code ownership. They were hosted on some other third-party server, and they were serviced by a team of freelancers somewhere in Ukraine. Well, yeah, we took it over and started copying products, etc., etc., etc. So it was a very simple plan on paper, but it wasn't really. I drew dependencies list for development. It also seemed simple, but it wasn't. The main reason was the guy in charge. Well, actually, guys in charge. They were changing their vision. Well, because they can. Why not? I mean, this is what they do. They have a strategic vision. So at one point I became very frustrated, very annoyed, because I had to change the plans all the time and change my documentation and reslice the tickets and change planning, etc. And it was too much of a stress. So I thought, what can I do here? Well, I created an MVP, a minimum viable product. So they wanted a store. They got a very big document describing what a store is. And all of the bells and whistles would be moved to separate separate lists and separate milestones. So it's a huge document in the Confluence. It has all of the functionality described, all of the technical details described, and I got them to put their signature with blood on it. That this is the minimal thing I will deliver, this is what we guarantee you, and everything else will be MVP plus or nice to have, etc. This allowed us to work on this thing in our usual agile way for like half a year maybe, without any stress. But then, one day, on a very big meeting with 20 plus directors of different departments in different locations, I realized that no, this isn't going to work. So I knew that the design is delayed, that merchandising is not ready, web content is not ready, staff is not yet trained, that it is unclear who should train them. Multiple major features on that development plan I drew earlier weren't yet ready and were delayed. And I was starting to feel some tension that we won't make it on time, etc., etc., etc. So there were plenty of projects that were blocking me from actually making this DNS record change on one very perfect day. So I became upset and I started thinking, so we live in an environment with a deadline and we need governance, we need documentation, we need predictability, we need accountability. What can we do? We can either change the development process we established and we improved during all of those years, either we can exploit other existing options. So we were looking to some agile development with some waterfallish reporting and waterfallish, let's say, dependency management. So this is when I remembered about PMO. Sent out an email to the director and said, okay, come on, send me the link to this 47-page manual. Looks like it's the only way how we can manage it and make it on time. So if not everybody knows, it's like one of the silver bullets, one of the solutions that may help big organizations to establish some certain practices for everyone. I mean, just software development knows what Agile is. Well, people in McDonald's also know what Agile is. They work for Kanban. But it doesn't work that way with generic business people who are not taught it, who are not used to it, who like it step by step. So this is why organizations start founding PMO offices, project management offices. You'd be surprised, but there exists a framework called Scaled Agile Framework. It's a very nice thing. It's a very good business for Agile people right now to sell their consultations, and Scaled Agile Frameworks is one of them. It's one of the most popular frameworks for using Scaled Agile for making big development projects work. BMW uses it. So you'd be surprised, but they have PMM, which is roughly PMO in regular terms. So it's a best practice. The good thing is that everybody in business believes it's a holy cow. They know all the rules, they comply to the rules, they understand it. So why not use it? I mean, it creates some temporary structure where you, as a usual project manager, can have some authority, or not authority, maybe control over other people. This doesn't work in Agile really, because it's a flat structure which doesn't have any temporary roles implied. But here you have. So it's kind of cool when the company's president says that, oh, okay, I'm really sorry, but we'll need extra 2 weeks for that. And you're like, you're missing the date. So it looks very scary in real life. This is the beginning of my WBS, which is the work breakdown structure with a Gantt chart. Well, when you start looking deeper into it, it has just the usual work items, the start date, the end date, the estimated duration in days, and this thing magically draws some progress bars. And everything is plotted on calendar, so it's not as scary in real life. What, if you take a closer look, you might see something which seems very similar. Your usual Agile milestones can be actually depicted on that tool. And it's not a big deal. So inside, you can have your iterational approach. And this is just how you display it. So by iterational approach, I mean product owner creates some scope for the project. Then you discuss it with the architect, you slice up stories, you demonstrate the stories to the team, you discuss them. They tell you that, yeah, we can really do that, that makes sense, all of the stories are normal size, we're going to make it on time, it's not a big deal. Then you work it, after you have planned it, and go to next iteration. And you can just display it that way on the WBS. And all of the 70 years old directors will understand that and will not ask you any questions, what's Agile, what's iteration, what's an estimate, etc. They can read it, and they can respect it. So how planning works inside. Like I said initially, we collect a lot of statistics, and we use story normalization. Story size normalization means that almost every ticket is the same amount of work. Because of that, we can rely on statistics. This chart indicates teams throughput. From that, you can see that on average, they can complete around 50 tickets a month. So if your milestone has 50 tickets, you will understand that it will not take less than a month to complete that. But of course, you need to calculate it a little bit deeper. This is why we collect metrics called cycle time. This is the time that is necessary for the ticket to go from column backlog to column done, basically, on the Kanban board. We calculate it, and we calculate the standard deviation. What you do with all of those slice stories in the milestone, you identify the critical path, which is the longest chain of tickets that need to be worked on consecutively. I mean, one after another. And then you just multiply it by your cycle time. And that's some standard deviation to be on the safe side. This is it. And then you get back to your WBS and you display it here. They in the business, they don't understand it, don't understand how it works, but they don't really need that. They will see their usual picture. So it's not really that hard to blend Agile with Waterfall. I mean, if you get back to this picture, you see that my planning phase finishes exactly on the date when implementation phase finishes. It would make some business person cry, but it's continuous planning. This is how it is. So nobody really asks questions. So if you have iterations, my tip would be to give them some very abstract names so that you can play around with the scope inside. Because they, in their waterfallish approach, they have deadlines, which they try to respect. If you don't meet it, you're screwed. Here, I mean, nobody will see, nobody will understand, nobody will notice if you move one ticket from one milestone to another, but you meet the deadline. I mean, you're good. Translating the percentage is also very easy. If you have normal story sizes, and you have 10 tickets complete out of 20 in the milestone, you're 50% down. That's as simple as that. Well, the general idea is to continue working in your usual, using your usual techniques with your teams, with your development teams, but just report it and in the way business is used. The main thing, everybody must understand that it is important to meet the final deadline of the whole project, of the whole portfolio, not some intermediate deadlines. Everybody understands that, nobody has issues with it. Also, if you delay something, it's not a big deal. They also, in the business, they also move their EDAs and move their deadlines from time to time. It's not a big deal. You're good as long as your MVP is done. So, top gear, top tip, work on your MVP first, on your minimum viable product, and then just work iterationally on improving it. And try to manage expectations, well, with the same MVP. The next important thing I learned maybe last week is the peer pressure. So what I did, I included all of the projects I rely on, I depend on in my WBS, and shared it with all of the directors. So now they experience peer pressure. They see their own projects in there, they see their colleagues' projects in there, all of these, all of these items. and they see that it's blocking the user acceptance testing start, and they feel bad, and they feel responsible. So they're sending a lot of emails now, sharing information where they are, and you don't even have to ask them. It's just a very quick tip. What else I did? I created a multiplayer checklist in Confluence. Now everybody from those guys can just open the page and put a check mark that some work item is done. They enjoy it, and it's just a tip for you. What else? The peer pressure, told you about it. And also all of the project docs are shared for people who want more granularity, more granular information. We have such information freaks, such workaholics who work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day without any break. It's useful for them. Well, the main thing, just remember, all of these are just tools. Your Kanban boards, your WBSs, your Gantt charts, your reports, etc., etc. Just use them to your own convenience. Ban them if you need it. Well, process is not written in stone. You can change it if you wish. So yeah, I got to summary really quickly. So as life shows, in some cases you really need to combine Waterfall approach with Agile if the project is very big and if you have a lot of parties involved. In my case, it's around 100 people. It's more than 10 departments. It's 4 regional offices. It can work, well, not really sure because the deadline is still in August. We'll see it then, but now I'm not really on fire. Well, there is some tension, but I think we will make it. The next thing, that project management office can be useful, even if you hate it, even if you think it's some kind of bureaucracy which just blocks you from working. If you believe that all of the documentation is waste, well, not really, you can exploit it when you really need that. Another thing, you don't want to involve your teams in that. So you, as a project manager or as product owner, should just keep the clash, keep the conflicts of methodologies in you. Your teams should be working as they are used to. Just try not to show them your WBSs and explain all of these things. Let them work as usual. Keep them away from stress. So you are the connection point between two of those worlds. And as a manager, well, it's for you to decide how this connection happens, whether you make it or not. Yeah, I was quick. I think it was less than half an hour. I did my best. I skipped half of the information I wanted to share with you. So we're hiring. Welcome. And you can ask questions. Yeah.
This Agile thing is a little bit about like feedback from the client. And it wasn't being covered.
Pardon, didn't really hear the second half of the question.
Agile is about like a feedback. When you do Agile, you need to feedback from the client, from the guy your customer. But it wasn't like I haven't found it inside.
There is a feedback cycle.
I found this multiplayer checklist.
Yeah, another thing is the internal store. So we created the runner. The first thing we did, we created the store, how it would look like, and it's available internally. And I set link to everybody so they can check it. They can see how it evolves. This is the way we show our progress in real thing. But as for feedback, there is a couple of mechanisms we have. First is the official UAT, user acceptance testing. Any milestone, any project can have a UAT phase if you as a manager want to.
Do you actually have them, or you can have them?
We do actually have them. For instance, we handed out another project last week. Oh, it was a very big one. It was a tool, internal search, basically for phone support team. Around 50 people used it. I sent a link and I had a lot of feedback. So real support guys were just leaving comments in my Jira tickets that I want this button to be less gray. I want this font color to be more black.
When you say this was a big project, how long was it?
3,500 hours.
calendar-wise,
months, so half a year.
and you had the UAT at the end of that,
Yes.
and that's the feedback cycle you have.
For that project, yes. It was technically complex. It was that long because it required a lot of refactoring. I mean, half of that, or maybe 2/3 of that, were not functional, but they were technical. We kind of rewritten the system we had to sort of microservice architecture. So it was a bigger commitment technically than it was commitment in terms of functionality or user interface. The next tool you can use, no matter what methodology you have, is demo. You can have a demonstration of product after each iteration. So you can just show a presentation, put it in Confluence, and everybody who's interested can read it. Also, we have a lot of meetings. Well, this is the day-to-day feedback you get. And it's not really hard to get it in this case, because everybody is interested. Surprisingly, everybody is interested. Yeah,
Yeah, I do have a question about story normalization. In case of we have big story, it's obvious we can split it on small one.
yeah.
But in case of small feedback, how do you make normal story for 1 week based on small feedback?
You can combine them if it makes sense functionally. Also, really small stories, they do not hurt. If it's 30-minute story, no problem. We exclude outliers from the statistics. So there can be a 300-hour story, let's say 1 month long, because it makes sense for a senior developer to sit down and refactor the whole system in his own ticket.
Yeah.
Well, but you may have a 30-minute bug fix, and you're going to do that. Well, both of them are outliers. They will be excluded from statistics. In statistics, you see the average plus standard deviation. Well, the standard deviation might be very big. But bugs also are excluded from the statistics calculations. You can take a look at stories that just are related to projects. When you plan project, you can slice everything to approximately equal size. Well, of course, you should use common sense. So if it doesn't make sense as a user story, it can be bigger or can be smaller. Yeah, please.
Sorry, what kind of tools do you use to get out the data, the averages of the user stories? Is it something built in Jira?
Yeah, we have Jira Elastic Analytics. It's an internal tool. There's plenty of statistics. We have bugs triggered ratio. We have a time log, of course. We have some other metrics that are top secrets. Like we can see by a person how much time he spends on fixing his own errors percentually from his day. Like, so we collect all of these.
And
Yeah.
You said Scrum bug, but all you're talking about is mostly about Kanban. Actually, I haven't found any Scrum.
We have roles from Scrum Master, Product Owner. also
have a kind of additional question to this: that Jira is it good for Kanban?
It's good for everything.
Okay. Okay. Then what from Scrum?
Well, we have milestones. These are not really sprints, but they have fixed scope. This is a blend of methodologies anyway. There's no such thing as Agile. Agile is a brand. Whatever is inside is how you understand it and what fits your company. Well, we have a mixture of Scrum and Kanban. This is a Scrumban. I believe the majority of people who have Agile in their development process, they have a mix of something. It won't be pure Agile, from the book.
But in your case, it's 90% Kanban plus rules.
In this project right now, yes, because design is late. And it's very hard for me to build a solid scope milestones for the rest. So right now, for me, it turned into complete Kanban for this project. But for other projects, it doesn't work that way.
to be completely honest, it does sound a bit more like 70% waterfall and then maybe 20 Kanban and 10
No,
Scrum.
it's waterfall only during those weekly meetings with directors.
Well, yeah, but you just said that your design phase is late, that's why your work is late. That does sound like waterfall.
Yes, this is portfolio management. Portfolio management on top is waterfall.
No, yeah.
When you
inside
talk
is-
about your daily work, I mean work with the team, it's agile. It takes more time. I mean 16 programmers take more of time than a daily or a weekly meeting with managers.
They
So
sometimes
it's vice
call it water scrum fall.
You can call it whatever you want. The thing is that those things can be mixed together and looks like it works. Yeah, please.
How big is the size of the team? 16 people, right?
Yeah, 3 teams, 16 people total.
Oh, so it's 3 teams.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
16 divided by
Yeah. 17, sorry. We hired a new one just last week. Yeah, please.
Why do you think that it's better to merge Waterfall with Scrum or with Agile than to convince your stakeholders to use Agile in their work? Or you convince developers to use Waterfall instead of Agile?
Well, let's start with the business. It's resistance to change. And it's very hard to teach the old dogs new tricks. Plus, you have to change all of the business processes of the entire organization. It's simpler in IT, it's more fluid. But how to make programmers work per waterfall? Well, do you like writing documentation?
No, I don't know. I just you have,
This is the answer.
Agile from one side and Waterfall from other.
Yeah.
Why is the middle not
Why is what?
Why do we choose the merging of these approaches, not only one for all countries?
It wouldn't work other way. Because as a general manager, you want to use your WBS to just look at everything. You're used to that. And you cannot change processes of the entire organization that simple. We know that Agile works very well for development. We have a ready system, we have a lot of production websites, we have a lot of systems we need to maintain and make better. And the iterational approach here makes more sense than like classical project approach. For business, let's say for signing contract with a new supplier who will sell certain clothes or certain, I don't know, other items on our store, Waterfall makes more sense. Because first, you have to sign some agreements. No, first you send out some letter of intent, then you sign some agreements, then you go to their store, you talk to their managers, then you make a good bargain on prices, and then you, I don't know, you make some arrangements, some logistical arrangements and stuff like that. It's more like that on their side. So they think that waterfallish project management works better for them. They believe in that. Yeah, please.
But isn't it a matter of just perception? Because
It is.
You can just tell that it is iteration of sorts.
It is. Like I showed you, it's the matter of perception. It is. Money is also just perceived value.
Yeah.
This is how we live.
Let's finish and more questions in a break. We have special order today to thank you.